Hey babe, is now a good time to talk?
Now's a good time to have an unfiltered conversation.
What's up, babe?
What's going on? Um, Welcome back to MarKei Unfiltered. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Keion. If this is your first time joining us, you guys know that this is the place where we keep it real, raw, and unfiltered. So we like to talk about relationships, love, everything else in between. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming back to episode 2. We're really excited. So
Yes.
let's just jump into it, I guess, right?
Yes, so we are back with another episode today. But before we jump into our episode, let's take a moment to catch everyone up on what's been going on with us in our lives, in our busy lives.
For sure. I definitely think that it's great to take a little minute to just catch up. Just kind of just discuss everything that's been going on, how life's been treating us, all the things that we've been juggling. With me and Marissa, we have work, we have our businesses, we got our personal growth, and then all of the unexpected and the life things. And then just like our reflection. So I think now is a good time to just talk about all of that stuff that's been going on. I don't even know where we begin.
Well, it's so many things that's just been going on. We're starting a new business, and so we just became new business owners. So we just been really juggling that and everyday life and squeezing those things in. So it's been really busy, and we're trying to find time for each other, all in the mix.
Definitely. I would definitely say like running a business has been a lot. And I won't say new business owners. I think new business venture.
Yes, new business venture
Within
for
our
sure.
business. So we've been running businesses since 2023 together. But now we're in a new business venture.
Yes.
And we rent out cars on Turo. So we have a couple of vehicles that we have on Turo. And just like the adventures of like watching our Turo and like getting bookings and like working around our schedules and having to work around getting the cars cleaned and getting them dropped off and everything in between, going to pick vehicles up, doing inspections. So just juggling all of that, and then just how busy it's been. I think like jumping into the new venture, we didn't expect it to be as busy
No,
as
we
it
did
started.
not.
So that's definitely been a lot. And then juggling our relationship has been not like in a bad way, but like just that portion of things, right? Like trying to still prioritize our relationship in the middle of like the business side. So I think we dropped our first episode on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And so since Valentine's Day, right, like just thinking about everything that's happened since then. So today we're recording and it's February 25th. So we're 2 weeks after Valentine's. But all in between that was just getting ready for the episode to drop, like getting ready to release the podcast, working on all of the merch that like and
Yep.
getting like that stuff live, handling all of the social media, also running our business, also being parents, also having our relationship. We were late. We actually didn't even make it to our original Valentine's Day
No,
date.
we did not.
Just because of everything going on that day.
Yes.
Like we had vehicles we had to drop off. Marissa had to get her hair done. The
kids
kids had to get their hair done. So I was doing like vehicles by myself, like dropping vehicles off, like dropping the kids off, running around town. We were down to like one car for like a moment. So it was a lot. And
Yes.
just juggling all of that.
And I was about to crash out, y'all, behind the Valentine's Day, because I like to stick to things that we said we was going to do, and I really wanted to do that. We was going to make a pizza and everything, and I was really excited, and we didn't get to do it. So I was about to crash out, but I got myself together. But it's just crazy, like how things can change and how so much can happen within 2 weeks.
Right.
So, but all right,
Yeah.
let's.
So much has happened within that 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then after that, and we could have made that date if we would have just got dressed before we left.
Right.
Instead of trying to go to the hotel.
But who wants to do that?
Right. But if we would have did that, we probably would have made that date.
Probably, but.
So yeah, so that, and then there's just, yeah. I guess that we haven't even had a chance to go grocery shopping yet. Like, that's been crazy. But we've been making it work. Like, we actually have been having so much stuff in the house, like, or we go small grocery shopping, like, oh, let's just pick this up because we need it for tonight or something.
Yeah.
So,
but that's our lives. So, but let's shift gears because we got a great episode ahead. It's time to get.
I agree. I mean, we definitely have a great episode ahead. Like, we're taking it back. We're going back to our childhood and how our early experiences and like our families help shape like our views of love and relationships. So I definitely think it's going to be a spicy topic. I definitely think it's about to get real unfiltered in here. So
family members, if y'all see this, we love y'all, but this our truth. So sorry if it makes you look like the villain.
I hear that.
But oh well. But before we dive deep, you already know what time it is. It's rapid fire.
What do you think this is? Like, do you think you're iCarly?
Maybe.
Think you're iCarly? Well, before we get started on rapid fire, I'm gonna throw a quick commercial in. So everybody, you guys probably like want to know, like, where do we do the podcast at, and like how did we get all of this popping? So we're a part of the Sarcarigants. Dang, look, what's funny is that I said it right the entire time, but now the tongue twister came. But we're a part of Sarcarigant Studios, right? SMG Studios, that's what you guys call it, right? If you're ever looking to get a podcast started, you guys want video, you want audio, you want anything else that's in your creative lane, holla at SMG Studios. Follow. You'll see the links. You'll see us share. We're a part of the SMG family, so follow all of the other podcasts. Check out all of the other podcasts coming out of SMG Studios, right? You just seen us also in the middle.
Yes.
Right? We just came off of the Are You Serious podcast, so definitely check out Are You Serious? MarKei Unfiltered just was special guest on there. And when we get to the point of having guests, maybe we'll bring them on, but we don't know yet.
I think we should bring them on.
You think we should bring them on, babe?
I think so. They're pretty cool.
They're pretty cool fellas?
Yes.
Maybe one at a time. Maybe we'll get them like separate.
Maybe. I like that.
All right, you like that? All right, so I think you wanted to change up how we do rapid fire a little bit. So like, am I asking you the question? Like, I pull this and then I ask, right? And then you're, all right, cool.
I'll give you a response.
All right. So if your partner planned a surprise date, what would you want it to be?
Oh my gosh.
This is not quick.
I know, I'm sorry. It's definitely have to involve food. Anything with food. It's got to be something with food. And drinks.
Food and drinks. All right.
Yeah. Oh, my turn.
Your turn.
Tripping.
I feel like that was the same question from last time. Did you put the questions back in the jar?
No.
Oh, okay.
I throw them in the trash. What's the best advice about love you ever received? Oh, this is a good one.
The best advice about love I've ever received? I actually have the answer to that. People do not get divorced because they don't love each other, but because they don't know how to live with each other.
You do say that all the time.
Because I think that's the best advice about love, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that love is like, you're going to have some good days, some bad days, right?
Very true.
So.
All right. So, let's take a step back. Let's go back. Growing up, what did love and relationships look like in your household?
So, let's go over the years. So, growing up, before I moved to Maryland with my dad, I lived with my grandma in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So living with my grandma in New York, she was married. I don't even know if they were married now. That like I'm an adult. But I think that they were married to like my granddad Bobby, right? So that's Miracle's dad, Bobby,
Okay.
right? So I always knew Bobby, but we also knew like Shay's dad,
Mm-hmm.
and Uncle CJ's dad, right? Well, CJ's dad was Shay's dad. So
Okay.
love growing up then, and then always coming to Maryland, was my and Poppy and everything like that, right?
Right.
So love growing up then was always, you know, I just saw relationships as like men that kind of took care of women, like men that um, they went to work, the woman kind of stayed home or like took care of home. My grandmother in New York, she did go to work, like, but she worked in a school, and then my grandmother here had a daycare that she was running. So I always seen love in like different ways. They were always very affectionate, so I always seen a lot of love and like affection.
Mm-hmm.
And then with my dad, he was married to Kim. So like we always seen, I seen love then as like fun and loving, but my
Is
dad was a
Kim
cheater.
Andrew mom?
Andrew's mom.
Okay.
But
Alright.
then my dad was a cheater. So at a young age, we kind of knew like what that was and then the effects of that, like when it led to their divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it was like really my dad and Robin, right? So
Right.
from there, we always seen like that's when I probably seen like the most realness of like the ups and downs of love, right? Like the fun,
Mm-hmm.
the like affection, the dates, the arguments, right? The ups and downs of like a relationship, right? Like putting your family first, or like even sometimes like just putting your spouse before you. So I would say like my most views, but in that also, right? Like I also seen like the good and bad in it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, and how that then affected families, right? So like my dad and cheating, and like how that then affected like the family, and then like how that affected us as the children, and like our relationships, and then not having like my real mom around ever. I think that made me view like love and relationships in a different way too, because that gave me a certain view of women
Mm-hmm.
that I just kind of had because of like in my mind, oh, if this is the woman that like gave birth to me and this can happen, then anybody can do it,
Can do it.
right?
Yeah.
So it automatically like made me generalize
Women.
women as a whole. So that then like I think for a long time allowed me to like view women and like relationships as like something that I had, but like not something that was ever going to last. So like something that was always disposable.
Hmm.
So I having that disposable view, I think led me in years to like cheat or like not be honest or like have my cake and eat it too, um, and just not fully lock in, right? Like always have like a defensive wall and
Yeah.
shield up into a way of
It's kind of like one foot in, one foot out.
yeah,
Kind of. Mm-hmm.
yep. So what about you?
So for me, my parents were married. They were married, I think, for like 8 years, but they got divorced when I was 5. So I don't really have like, a lot of recollection of, because being 5, like that's still pretty young. And I think all I really, at the point of when I could remember, like it was a lot of tension in the house. I didn't see my parents being loving at all. Like I would try to like make my parents take a picture together, and my mom would just kind of be like, "No," like you could tell she was just like disgusted. And like at the time, I didn't really understand why. But like now that I'm older and I put everything together, I'm like, "Oh, okay, we going to." Me and my dad's taking me out with him, but we with this lady like, and she's like being really nice, and we with the lady down the street. So I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was my dad's friend, but it was a little bit more than that. So my dad was cheating, and ultimately, like, they got divorced. So then we moved with my grandmother, and my grandparents, they were married, but they were still married but not together. And my grandfather at that time, he didn't live in the house. So my views of relationships was just like failed relationships, or I didn't really see affection growing up. I didn't know like relationships go through up and downs, because I just seen the down and not, the uncomfortable conversations or them working through problems. I just seen the down. Like, I didn't see the other side of it. Like, oh, we can overcome this issue. So, growing up, it was just kind of like, and then even with my grandparents, like, I just always found that weird. Like, they still married, but they're not together. They don't live together, and it seems like they really don't like each other. Well, more so, my grandmother didn't like my grandfather. I felt like was more of the energy. So it was just, for me, I didn't really have like relationship model to look to, because every one of them around me like is failed. It pretty much failed. So I would kind of like base things off of stuff that I seen on TV, like, oh, growing up, the Cosby Show. I want to be like, the Cosbys.
Right,
I want
right.
my relationship to be like the Cosbys, or this stuff you seen growing up. Like, oh, that's my idea of a family.
Do you still feel like now today, like TV is your biggest influence?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Because
What do you feel like now is your biggest
absolutely
influence?
not. I don't really, my biggest influence.
And I mean in reference to like relationship.
Shit,
You know what
I
I mean?
know. Um, I can really see now. I could say now. I will give like I feel like my brother and his wife. Like, I look to them because I know that they have overcame things. So I'm like, okay, I seen, you can go through a rough
Rough
patch,
patch.
and overcome things and still be strong and still be together. And y'all, I just really love how they, my brother now, he lives in Georgia or whatever. So it's like they really built a life together, and I think that that's very beautiful.
All right, all right. So for me, I would still say my biggest influence are probably my grandparents, like mom and poppy.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, mom and poppy. I think they're like my
Yeah,
biggest
shout out to
influence,
them.
and like, cause I think I've seen it. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
ups and downs, like the good and the
you
bad,
seen it over time.
and like I seen it over time, and even like most recently, like they just moved, and relationships. They say moving and having children are like the biggest things that like usually cause rift. So like just watching them go through the move, and I was like, this is tough. Like this is tough. I don't like how they gonna get through it, but they did it right. Like they're good. So I would definitely say mom, poppy. I would say my parents as they're adults now. And they've always been adults, so that's funny to say. As they've gotten older, my parents. Because I would say like for a while, you know what I mean. Like as much as I love my dad and my uncle, I was like, I can't be them. I can't get married that many times. I can't like have like that failed thing.
I get it. Yeah.
So like sometimes my influences came in like this way. That can't be me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that has influenced me as well, because I'm like, oh, my grandmother, she, her and my grandfather, they not together.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and my mom never got like remarried. She dated people afterwards, but it still was like, I want something that's long lasting. Like, I want to be able to be around like for my grandkids, and like they know like grandma and papa, like
Right.
I want that. I don't want like, oh,
Right. I
a
feel
failed
that.
relationship. So I just felt like that was me. Like, I have to have
Something that lasts,
more. Yeah.
like in this thing that kind of like goes around. I think that I definitely wanted something that lasts, and I think that You know, especially like now in our relationship, like I'm looking at our relationship in a way of like, okay, how do I make that happen? Like one of the biggest things that I think that we're learning is there's no matter what you find as an influence, you learn that being in a relationship, it's about like you two, and like you two have to figure out like what makes it
Yes.
work for you guys, and you two have to learn how to maneuver and like live life with each other.
Yes.
Um,
And we talked about it earlier in
and
therapy.
therapy, right? We actually had a really good therapy session
We
today,
did.
right? Like a really, really good therapy session today. But I think because also like we've been our maneuvering has been different. So for me, one of the biggest things, like I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the past couple of weeks we've been having like stupid arguments, right? And I'm definitely taking it off topic for a second, but we've been having like stupid, dumb arguments for the past couple of weeks, right? And like then we'll make up and we'll be fine. And always like to me, the arguments happened on like the days that we were supposed to have therapy. So we went to therapy today and we found out like it's been a month since we had
Yeah.
therapy, and I was like, "What? It's been a month already." But we're on a 2 week cycle. So the 2 weeks that we were supposed to have therapy, our therapist like was away.
Right.
So Marissa rescheduled it with her, and like conflict schedule, like it just didn't get put in the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we missed that appointment, and then our makeup was today. So every time like we were supposed to have it, I felt like we got into like these dumb arguments or like things that blew up that really didn't need to blow up, but then like we didn't have, and then I would my cop out was like, therapy is happening. We're gonna talk about this at therapy, and therapy didn't happen.
Yes, I'm like, bring that ass here, boy.
So therapy didn't happen, and it then makes you like have to navigate life with each other. So in that, right, the bigger point that I was going to make out of all of that is like we were letting those things blow up, and then I had therapy, right? So I think we talked about that in the first episode. We're in couples therapy, and we take therapy for ourselves, and we're not in couples therapy because there's a problem in our relationship. So that's
Right.
another episode for like
Another day.
future conversation, but
Proactive.
we just want to just say that we're not in therapy, and we truly like, and maybe not call it therapy, couples counseling.
Right.
That's actually what it's called, right? Like she says, CC, yeah, couples counseling. So let's do that. And again, not because there's trouble in paradise, but another episode we'll discuss that. So back to the point. And my own therapy, like I was reflecting on the stuff that was kind of going on with me and Marissa, and you know, I was like, look, I don't really want this, and like, and therapy, I kept saying like, we're not going to break up, like we're not going to be over, so like, you know, like that's ultimately the pushing. And my therapist was like, well, Keion, like if that's your mindset, like always have that mindset in the conversations. I was like, all right, you're right. So like today, me and Marissa had to have a conversation, and usually like it was small, but like it could have turned ugly. But we did really good because I was able to come at her in a much better way with just handling the conversation as a whole. Because in my mind, I was just like, well, we're not breaking up, so we got to figure this part out.
Yes. We don't have to think the same. We just have to think together.
Think together. Yeah, that was a really good quote
Yes,
today, right?
and
We
that-
don't have to think the same. We just have to think together. I thought that was really good coming out of therapy.
Yes, that was my favorite takeaway.
Your favorite takeaway?
Absolutely.
So, in that, I think sometimes the influences come into how do we handle our relationships, right? Because like we talk a lot around what did we see, right? And then we talk about like what works in our household, right? So sometimes there's things like for the most part do the dishes, right? Like Marissa just don't really like dishes. But if I'm busy or I'm doing something, like this week I had a lot of stuff going on with school. Marissa has stepped up and she's like done the dishes. She's cooked dinner. Like everything's kind of been handled, and like I've been up late, like 1 a.m. and like she's been rolling over and she's like, "Yo, you're still doing schoolwork," and I am. So, but she's been like letting me be, and like let me do what I need to do, and like she may be handling the kids all by herself or whatever the case may be. So sometimes the influence is how we move, but I think we had to learn that as much as we may have gotten from that, we still got to figure this out on our own for us.
Yeah. And we have to work through it together and not have a third party like kind of give us the way. So that was challenging, but it was a good challenge.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It definitely was a good challenge because I think also like seeing the other side. You know what I mean? Like I think that's always the good part because in the moment sometimes I'd be like, bro, leave me alone.
Yeah, me too.
I need my
I be
own house. Like this is, I need my own place to go to.
definitely, because I'll be like, yeah, you got me. You already
Yeah,
know.
all right, no, go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. This is an unfiltered podcast.
You got me fucked up. Like,
Right. So,
or it just be like, boy, fuck you. Like,
so it be like that sometimes. Like Marissa doesn't like to drive, and sometimes I'm just like, can you fucking drive? Like I be having to do stuff
because I'm a
sometimes,
passenger
and
princess.
yeah, she does not drive unless like she's in the car by herself.
And then I cry about that.
Right.
But, so, I do want to talk on, like, how basically, you know, things that have we seen in our childhood had created like core beliefs. Like, cause for me, like with my dad cheating, and I still struggle with it like to this day. That I think that every man is going to cheat, and like the relationships that I've been in the past, like a man hasn't proved me wrong. So it's kind of like, oh, this is true. Like every man does cheat, and every man is just gonna like leave me, or just continue to. I gotta go through hell and high waters just to be married or mean something to a man.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you feel like things you have seen growing up?
Wait, what? What's your question?
Oh my gosh.
I don't feel like I feel like that's what we were talking about. Like, how did I feel about everything I seen growing up? So, like, I don't understand the
I
question
guess
that you're asking.
like, do you feel like it contribute? Like, it does it? Do you still have things that bother you even like to this day? Like that you like core beliefs to this day?
On from like how I view things as a kid.
Yeah, like,
Um,
or you feel like you've kind of progressed from?
in my current state,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
I don't feel like that. But I think that took a lot of work. Like even especially like the work over the past year with Dr. B. Shout out to my therapist, Dr. B. So no, I don't think so. I do think I had different views of like relationships or like what things would be like when I was a child.
Okay.
Right? Like I do think like what I thought like relationships would be or like what relationships took as a child. First and foremost, like I didn't even think of like all of the work that it took to make a relationship.
Yeah, me
work,
either.
Right? Like, so like as a child, I didn't understand that. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I didn't even know like when you really reflect back on it, right? Like I didn't know like my views on marriage now are way different than what they were when I was a child. Honestly, way different than what they were when I was 25.
Yeah, I can definitely say my views are very, very different because I didn't even think you were supposed to argue
Right.
in relationships.
You know what I mean? So I think that
I never seen you. I just never seen it. You know what I'm saying? Like people
or
like
when I seen it, arguments. Then like you don't always see the makeup.
yeah, I never seen the makeup. So I just thought like once you have it, arguing is bad. Anything like yelling is bad. Arguing is bad because it's just it leads to it being gone. Like you're not gonna have it anymore.
Right. So yeah, I feel that. So yeah, I definitely think like things like that happen. Where like now I'm like, it's healthy to have an argument. We gotta have
Definitely.
like the bad moments and like come through them. And like not like arguments. Like it don't gotta be like blows or nothing like that, but like we gotta have these unhealthy conversations.
Even
sometimes.
uncomfortable.
These uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, uncomfortable conversations. Because like even growing up, like for me, my mom, like my mom and my dad, like they didn't have uncomfortable conversations with me as a child. Like,
Right, for you to
hey,
understand.
yeah,
Which was very hard for you, like when we first got together years ago, and I'd be like, talk to the kids.
and
Like
I'm like,
and I will
no,
always talk to the kids.
yeah, I'm
about
like they
everything.
shouldn't know that.
And I'd be like, why not?
That's
Like,
not.
what are you
I'm
talking
like,
about?
no.
That is something that they should know. And it'd be small stuff. Like I don't even remember like the specifics now. We're like
I
now,
still do it now.
yeah, now
like,
you still do it. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? She already knows. Like she's talking to us. Like
and I'm like, no.
Callie
no,
and
no.
Parker will come and talk to me, and like, and I will wrap it up with the kids. And Marissa would be like, you talk to them about that? And I'd be like, yeah, like they talk to me about it. Like they know. So not talking to them about it is not like they're not thinking about it. It's not like they don't know. So I just talk to them about it. Like, how y'all feeling? What's going on?
Right.
What are y'all thinking?
I don't know. I just be nervous. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. So,
it's too much for kids.
like, and I get it, but I don't know. Like they are doing it anyway. So like I would rather know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not happening. Like especially Callie, once you get her open, shoo.
Oh yeah, she gonna run it down.
Callie
run
gonna
it
run
down.
it down. She know what's been happening, how long it's happening, where, why, and how. Like Callie know.
And I'm like, you know all of this? Like the story be like too clear. Like
Yeah,
like,
she know. So I'm not like
I'm
I
like,
be
ooh.
wrapping it up with them.
I'm like, you know what that means? Like, you know what that is? Oh my gosh, it'd be too much.
It
I'm
do.
like, she growing up. I don't like it.
Yeah, so I think it is hilarious like when you look back at it, because I definitely think that all of us thought, you know, or at least for me, for sure, like relationships were as smooth as like Claire Huxtable and situations like that. Where like now, remember the other day we were talking, I was like, look at like the Bernie Mac show or like My Wife and Kids. And
Right.
we're like, that's a real authentic kind of
That's more yes than like
a relationship, right? And
Yeah.
it's still not 100% perfect, but that was more, especially My Wife and Kids. I feel like that is like more authentic. And
definitely like real
sometimes
life.
you're gonna beef.
Yeah.
Like so, sometimes you're gonna beef.
You gonna beef, but you gonna get up another day.
You're gonna get up
And
another
still
day,
be committed to the relationship.
and like we go to bed and make sure like we're still committed. You know what I mean? Like we make sure
Yeah.
of that part.
Sometimes I just be like, I just do not like this light skinned man right now. Like, please, somebody get him away from me.
So yeah, I just think that reality hits, and like when reality hits, it's like I cannot move forward in a relationship. Like if I still had all of the same thoughts that I had in a relationship, I wouldn't be able to move forward in a relationship.
It wouldn't last for me.
It wouldn't
I
last.
know, because I'd be like, we had one argument.
Yeah,
Time
like
to pack it up.
yeah, like but you're not supposed to get in no arguments.
Time to go.
It's supposed to be a fairy tale, right?
Right. I really thought I was gonna be like Cinderella or something.
Yeah, but like, it's real life. Like, okay, you gotta think though. Like, yo, it's two separate people, and especially the older you are, I think
Yeah.
like the more time you had by yourself, the more time you had to like get into your ways and get into your experiences. It's really hard to mesh with another person. Like really
It
hard.
really is. And I'm
You know
like,
what I mean?
and that's why I was like, when she said, okay, when we learned in therapy, like, you don't have to think the same. And I think that was a struggle for me, because I'm like, how do I get us to like, you know, think
Right.
the same? And I'm like, okay, we don't have to think the same. We just
We
got to
just gotta
think
think
together.
Yeah.
So that definitely has like helped my mindset, because I was like about to crash out. Like, I got to figure
You gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And
Hold
I
on.
think like therapy is really good, because like today it just hit on so many levels that we were like, yo, okay. Like one of the things that we were talking about in therapy was a situation has already started. How do we kind of then walk out of it, or like avoid that from getting deeper? Because that's sometimes what happens, right? It's like sometimes me and Marissa know that it's stupid, but like we can't back down, right? I gotta be a Capricorn, she gotta be a Scorpio, right? So we both can't back down, and in that, like not being able to back down, it has an effect on us sometimes in our relationship. And really sitting down and talking about that stuff, right? Because like, all right, one of the tools that we have is like reflective listening, but reflective listening don't always happen
Right. It's
where
not
like
gonna always
sometimes you don't
happen.
have a solution, right? So like reflective listening, you kind of got to have a solution, and we don't always have that. So today we learned couples dialogue,
Right.
which is like where we kind of go with MarKei Unfiltered, but it's a little bit deeper
Yeah.
with the couples dialogue, and I'm looking forward to that and kind of trying that approach because sometimes like reality check, right? Reality hits hard, and it's just like, all right, like today, like it's just the thing, like you don't know when a trigger is gonna trigger.
Yeah, because it can be in a blink
It
of an
just
eye.
in a
Like
blink
it
of an
just
eye,
be a little something. You be like, hold on.
right? So how do you handle those triggers where like you have good intent, but like you got to think about your partner and how they feel, and how can you still approach that and still not compromise you, right?
Right.
And like, but how can you have
And still
empathy?
feel heard and everything. But that's why you got to have, your toolbox and your different tools,
Right,
your screwdrivers, your wrenches, your
for sure.
hammers.
So if we say that, right, like we talk about the things that we realize now, but when do you think like you really realize that relationships weren't what you thought that they were and like your childhood expectations?
Probably when I had Kelly.
When you had Callie?
Definitely like that kind of like snapped me up into like, because I thought, even with, you think about yourself having a child and it's like, oh, I'm about to have a family and and it's going to be like so magical and everything. And I'm going to have the white picket fence and we're going to get a dog in a house. And it just is like, that is not how it went. Like I was young when I had Kelly. So, and, the relationship just was not, it was not there. It just was like, how one person grow up and then like the other person just don't. It is just like it's not working. We're not even in the same book at this point. Like forget chapter or page. We're not even in the same book. So it was just best for us to like not be together. But that really kind of made me realize like, oh, it's a lot of work. Like you gotta communicate. Like if you're
Right.
not even talking or y'all can't even have, talk about y'all issues, then it's just not gonna work.
That's true. I do think that if you can't talk about them, then it's not gonna work. And like, so like right now in our relationship, like as you say that, but right now in our relationship, sometimes we have this thing where you're like less is more, and I'm like, well, communication is key, right? So hearing what you
Yeah.
just said, right? What is your answer now?
I definitely um I will say this. Sometimes in a relationship I do feel like you have to pick and choose your battles. I don't think that means that you then can't say how you feel
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, but I do think that you just need to process like, okay, is this really something that I need to like go extreme and crash out about, or can we just have like a simple conversation like, hey, that kind of bothered me when you did X, Y, and Z. So
Okay.
I think it's, picking and choosing, but I do think that you should speak your mind because small things, that's what, builds up and then you explode or creates resentment over time.
Right. And I think providing that clarity like makes things work.
Right.
So I guess I can go back to the question to answer it. For me, when did I realize like things weren't what I thought that they were? It would probably be like while dating Kristen, like when we had Parker.
Yeah.
No, I'm lying. I'm gonna say being engaged to Adrian
Okay.
and like how our engagement went, and then like not getting married and like how that ended. I think that was probably like the biggest wake up call into like what it takes to really make a relationship work. And like when I like also had to really like realize and accept like I wasn't ready
Mm.
for like marriage or like what what the Bible entitles as marriage, right? And like how God views marriage,
Right. I definitely
right? Like
think, yeah.
not just saying, um, not just saying that I'm married,
Right.
right? So
So I think that's a I think that experience is like that. I'm pretty sure you learned, like you say, you learned a lot. Like that's a lot to take from, going through that and everything. But so now that we've learned and unlearned, how do you see love today and marriage today?
wow, that's a loaded question. How do I see love today? And how do I see marriage today? So I think that those are two separate questions, and I'm gonna take that as two separate questions.
Okay.
So I see love today in our relationship or in a relationship as someone I see love as unconditional, as non-judgmental, as empathetic, as forgiving, as patient, as kind, as caring. Um, and then the other part of that was how do I see the relationship or marriage?
Mm-hmm.
I see marriage as a partnership, as teamwork, as a friendship, as spontaneous, fun, exciting, hard, realistic,
Yeah.
work. Now I see marriage as I see you as somebody that nourishes my soul. I see you as somebody that enhances my life. Um, and I see marriage as peace.
Okay.
So I think the biggest thing for me is like you providing peace with everything else going on in the world, right? When our business stresses us out, when work stresses me out, when school is stressing me out, when the kids are getting on my nerves, when everything is just going on, peace. Being able to always just be able to come to you.
Okay. For me, I see love. I'm not even gonna lie. With the first thing that come to my head, I'm a big Broadway fan,
Oh my lord,
and
not this crybaby. Oh my lord, sorry.
he be hating on my man Rod. My man's Rod. Okay, so he said love takes a lot of forgiveness and patience, and that is very true. I do see love as patient, kind. You gotta have a lot of forgiveness. Like you have to forgive a lot. Um, I definitely see it as unconditional, non-judgmental. Um, yeah, that's pretty much, and just joy at times, like happiness. Marriage, I definitely see marriage as a journey. Like you're gonna go through good, you're gonna go through the bad, you're gonna go through the in between. But I see it as two people like never giving up on each other and always, even though it may be a bad day today, we still showing up for each other, and we still going to commit to the relationship and be here into the marriage and still love each other unconditionally.
Right.
So
What values or lessons do you want to um like what values or lessons do you want our children to take away from our relationship?
that I definitely want um our children to see a definitely affection for one, and for two I want them to see like healthy conflict resolution. So being able to have a conflict and then um you know moving on and getting over it and being able to move on.
For me, if I was going to if I was going to say what lessons I want our children to take, I would definitely say the healthy conflict resolution for sure. Um, And then outside of the healthy conflict resolution, I think, like you said, the affection, just seeing like love, just being able to hear "I love you," being able to
Mm-hmm.
say "I love you," being able to give each other like love and affection and hugs, being able to see that, and being able to see some of the lessons. Like I see some of the lessons and how I treat you and Callie reflects on like Parker. So like if I'm not around, Parker still doesn't let you guys touch doors.
Yeah.
So like he still opens up y'all doors. He still holds the door for you all. So like just seeing like those values transfer over to them, um, and then just being able to know that there's ups and downs, but like that we're always here for them, and that like we'll be consistent, and like you can see us go through the bad, and they'll talk to us. They'll tell us like when
Yes.
they know that like we are going through the bad. So just being able for them to walk away and know what like their expectations are, but also be able to be realistic about how does life work when it comes together. Because we also try to get them to reflect on that, like even with them two and their sibling relationship
Right.
and
And how they're
how
two different
they
people.
handle each
Mm-hmm.
other sometimes, and how like their approaches may be. All right. So and now, with understanding your mindset and like how you view relationships now, what's the biggest shift in your mindset that helped you to now have a healthier relationship? When
Definitely.
did that shift come? So, what is the shift, and when did that shift come?
The shift for me definitely really.
You didn't drink it. So.
Y'all see this shit?
Time is almost up. I don't think. I think they can see us at the table.
I wish y'all could see this fucking shit. This is the shit I be talking about. But
I left you some.
um
Like you
a
didn't touch
fucking
the cup.
drop
You didn't touch
like
the cup the whole
anyway,
episode.
anyway, I did drink it. Anyway. Um the biggest takeaway for me definitely would be just my communication period, because I will hold stuff in. Like I used to hold stuff in, and like eventually when I get to my breaking point, like the Scorpio come out and I'm ready to sting. Like I'm just ready to go off. Like you got me fucked up. It's time to go. Like
All right.
so for me, I definitely think that switch was, I would say, um honestly, like when me and you started dating, because like before, like I still would just not just say my issue, but
So what led to that shift in your mindset in order to now lead to a more healthier relationship?
because you actually care to know like what's going on. Like you could tell like my energy. Like when I dated other people before, they wouldn't even know nothing's wrong with me. So it would just kind of be like, this nigga don't even know me for real. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know me, so I could say like, you'll be like, what's wrong, and I'd be like, nothing. You'd be like, you lying. I know you right. I can see it on your face, and I'm like, it's nothing wrong. And then like, all right, now I'm like, I gotta talk because I gotta say it because he's know that I'm mad, so I might as well just go ahead and say it. So that was my biggest takeaway. What would you say
My biggest shift in my
yours?
mindset
Like,
is, or my the biggest shift in my mindset that now leads to us having a healthier relationship. Do I want to be right or do I want to be married? Um,
yeah, that's a good one.
Keeping the mindset of do I want to be right or do I want to be married, I think allows me to be more patient, a lot more empathetic, a lot more understanding, um, and ultimately with the like I said with this mindset of like, do I want to lose her? Do I want to go back out and date again? Do I want to go like? Do I want to like reset the family down? You know what I mean? Like we got a lot going
Yeah,
on too,
like a lot
right?
of
Like
layers.
it's layers. Like the businesses, the children. Like it's a lot of layers and everything. The how like it's just a lot.
Yeah.
The cars, everything. So looking at all of that, right? It's like, do I want to be right or do I want to be married? But like, let's take all the materialistic things away. Let's take everything else away out of the equation, right? It's like, do I want to do life without you? Like, you really my best friend. You know what I mean? So, like in that, like you're the person I enjoy doing life with, right? Concerts, right? Comedy club, going out just to eat, right? Thirsty Thursdays, right? Karaoke, whatever it may be, right? Like you're the person that I enjoy doing life with, even down to the podcast, right? Like even down to like when I like came to you and was like, hey, I'm gonna get involved in the podcast and like I'm gonna talk to Pablo more about getting into the podcast, right? And then like, hey, I really want to take our podcast more serious. Hey, I want to do this, and like you always wanted to do this stuff too, so it's like
Yeah,
we
but I
just
be
balance
scared.
each other out in those ways, right? And I was like, hey, I got a way that we can actually make it happen. Like let's start
Yeah,
chasing like these
cause
dreams and everything like that, and like you support me in that. So the biggest shift had to be like, do I want to be right or do I want to be married? For me, because then now all of my actions lead into a way of like, how much does this cost me? You know what I mean? And not in cost of like financial funds all the time, but like sometimes it's just simple to like, hey, I can do this because it doesn't cost me much to make this happen. It doesn't cost me much to make her happy.
filling up the love bank.
So I'd like that, right? I did like the love bank. Like when she brought that up, I was like, wow, that's a really good analogy, right?
Yes.
Because I look at it, so my analogy has always been filling up the gas tank, right? The love tank, right? And like, as like, you know, just like our cars, right? You get it up to full charge or full gas, right? And we drive them. They lose battery or they lose gas, right? We have so
Okay.
many cars. Like I really stuff that's going. So they lose gas, right? And like as your car, you need to refill the tank, right? You got to stop at the gas station. You got to fill it back up, right? So you can't just be like, oh well, I put gas in there and you're full, and that's
Right.
just it, right? You use that up, you got to refill it. But I like what she said about the tank. I mean the love bank even more because I think it took it to another level.
Yeah, I definitely think that when she said that, I was like, I like that. I
I
know.
like that.
Yeah, because it was like, okay,
So are you
that
gonna
is
say what
true.
she said? You gonna let the people know? I'm just
Yes.
asking.
So,
This is how we act at
don't.
home too.
Yeah, it's really don't start your shit. 'Cause I was about to say that.
That's what she. That's really it.
So basically, we learned in therapy that you had to continue to replenish your partner's love bank because when you have withdrawals, aka those little petty moments, you
The
know,
arguments.
yep, the
The
arguments,
little
the
things
little
you go
dumb
through.
stuff, you do a withdrawal. So you gotta
Have more
yes.
deposits than
So you don't
withdrawals
your bank account don't go into the negative.
or the red. Right. You don't ever want to see no red. Right.
Right.
So you understand you're gonna have to have withdrawals. Right. But
Exactly.
if you have more deposits than withdrawals, then the withdrawals don't hurt. Right. You don't. You
Exactly.
don't. They don't affect you. Right. Like you're like okay, whatever. The bank account is still so full that that's nothing. And you bounce back. So the love bank is so full of love that hey, we had this withdrawal of love, but there's so much love here that didn't even hurt us, and we're not in the red.
Exactly. You're able to bounce back more quickly.
So I definitely think that we tried to keep it unfiltered today. It was definitely a good
Definitely.
unfiltered conversation. I definitely think that we kept it surface level though. What you think? I think we didn't want to hurt feelings. So I think we kind of talk topics.
Yeah.
It's not as deep as like what we know.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's good for
Yes,
radio.
I
It's
didn't
good
go.
for radio. That's what they say, right?
I
Good for
definitely didn't
radio.
say some things I could say, but that's not my story to tell. But definitely.
I think this is a good start when we look at a reflection of how did we come into viewing what love is to us.
Exactly. And I think when we have our guests on the show, we'll be able to
Dive a little deeper.
yes.
Dive a little deeper. You're right. You're right.
And we can
Because then this kind of
ask.
builds up into.
Yes.
You're right. This builds up into because we definitely want them all as guests. Like that is coming. So we will have like a family month. Is what me and Marissa have kind of been talking about. Where like we'll get the different flavors. We'll get my dad, my mom, her mom, and then we may go generations. Right. We may get some aunts, uncles.
We got
grandparents, different
Ma
things,
and Poppy on
right?
here.
Get some different folks out. But the first couple episodes will definitely just be the MarKei team, Keion and Marissa,
Yes.
or Marissa and Keion.
But we are we want you guys to definitely think about where did your relationship expectations come from, and are they helping you or hurting you in your relationship, or even it just being single and dating, or just on your own self journey. So
Yeah, that's true. Like, that's a good time to think about that. Right?
yes, like you gotta
Like,
dig
what
deep.
is my relationship expectations? How did I get that view? And then how's that affecting my relationship right now, or the relationships that I want to be in,
Right. Or the men or women that I choose.
right? Because it does make a major difference when we really look back and think like everything is kind of shaped by like, and I won't even just say childhood experiences, but like life experiences, right?
Exactly.
And I think the biggest thing that like I've taken away from all of it is like you can still unlearn everything. You can still grow from everything.
Right.
Right? Like everything provides growth. So like when you do have these reflections on, where did your expectations of love come from? And are they helping or hurting you? Right? Like just know in that uncomfortable conversation, right? Like when you gotta actually face that and deal with that, it still leaves like that room for growth. Right? There's still time to like unlearn those behaviors or challenge those behaviors and grow from them and like really reflect on, okay, well, what do you want now? Right? Because again, people don't get divorced because they don't love each other. They just don't know how to live with each other. Most divorced people are still cool, right? They still reflect back on each other. A lot of them get back together, right? Because they still always had that love. They just couldn't figure out how to do life.
Didn't
And
know
when
how
I
to
say live
navigate.
together, it doesn't just mean under the same roof, right? It doesn't just mean having the same address. I mean living life together.
Yes, and doing life.
Right.
Because
sometimes it's hard, right? Like sometimes in doing life, being Marissa, being business owners, sometimes we gotta take off like that I'm your man hat and like I'm your business partner hat. And sometimes I gotta talk to you like a business partner. And then I can put my I love you hat, right? And the same happens like on her end.
Yeah, or just things not going as planned. Like I swear every day just don't go as planned. But
right. I think just because life or real
yeah,
love,
it just don't.
It's not what they tell you on TV or what's in the books, all of the fairy tales. It ain't that.
It's definitely not.
Right? Like real love takes work. It takes learning. It takes patience. It takes communication. What did we learn? The 4 C's today.
Yes.
Right. So communication,
Commitment, collaboration, yes.
communication, commitment,
yeah.
collaboration, and compromising.
Yes.
Right. So compromising with each other. So for real love to work now, right? Like what I've learned is like it takes work. Right? Like for those relationships that we talk about, right? They've all been through something. They've all had those tough times. They've all had those tough moments. And they've all had those great moments. But like it's how do you keep coming back to have those great moments?
Definitely. And I definitely think it's important that you set your own standards, like, and that I think that also comes in when you do like your self-reflection. You set your own standards, like, okay, I'm going to follow what works for me and what is best for my life and what I want, instead of following like what I seen or what I was taught. So definitely I think that you should just follow what you want. And it's not about everybody else, it's about you.
Right. Life, you gotta like please you. And life,
Definitely.
you gotta live for you, right? Like you got to like you can't always worry about making everybody else happy. And we even talk about life requires selfishness. Right? Like we even talk about that like even with being in a relationship, even with having children. So I do think it's important to, set your own standards and what makes you happy, right? And what are you going to deal with? And what does it take for you to make it work? Because even if nobody else agrees, as long as you're happy, right, then great. Because there's a lot of stuff that we hear or like we like see from our friends and things, and we're like, yo, that could never be me.
But it works for them.
It works for them. So it's not for us to judge that, right? It's probably a lot of stuff that goes on between Marissa and I that I know people would be like, that'll never be me. And it's like, we happy. Yeah. We good over here.
We cool. So not too much. But so I want to get into what we're going to talk about on the next episode. If you haven't already followed us, please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything. Like, subscribe. MarKei Unfiltered on YouTube is MarKei Unfiltered Podcast, but for Instagram and all the socials is MarKei_Unfiltered. I did a poll.
And that's MarKei _Unfiltered. So just for MarKei, if you're listening and you're not watching or anything, it's MarKei _Unfiltered.
So, like I was saying, I did a poll to see what you guys wanted us to talk about, and basically we got more votes for us to discuss like childhood and how our childhood has effects on relationships. But the second runner up was social media and like the effects that social media has on relationships today. So that's what the topic will be for our next episode. So if you have any comments or specific things relating to social media that you want us to discuss that have to do with relationships, please reach out to us and we will make sure that we definitely include, or if you have any stories you want to share, because I know some of y'all got some tea.
Right. Because we got some good questions even when we were on the Are You Serious podcast.
Yeah, and right? Definitely
around, like, social media and relationships.
Stuff that's been on social media and different like things that have happened in other people's relationships that ended up on social media.
Right. So we definitely want to, I definitely think that's going to be a real good unfiltered conversation when we talk about like our views on social media. When we talk about how we let social media impact our relationship now, how it impacted our relationship before, how we looked at social media before, to how we look at it now. It's definitely going to be interesting. So make sure that you are interacting and following us on our Instagram and Facebook pages and our TikTok pages, because we do throw the polls out. We do throw out some interaction and want to be engaged with our community. So definitely continue to follow, share, let everybody know, subscribe. Definitely be the first to know when the new episodes drop. And thank you for spending some time with us on our couch.
Definitely our nice comfy couch.
Right, this the boom boom room, as Mitch likes to call it, right?
The boom boom room. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, the boom boom room, as Mitch likes to call it.
The boom boom room at SMG Studios.
So yeah, come on down to SMG.
Come to the boom boom room.
Right. If you guys want to go ahead and record, you can come in the boom boom room. There's more rooms than just the boom boom room here.
Yes.
So definitely don't feel like
you gotta come
everything
to the boom
happens
room.
In the boom boom room. It does not. So if you're definitely coming down to SMG, and this is how we know, if you really watch the episode, right? If you throw it back out and be like, what's up with the boom boom room? Then we know, you real live MarKei Unfiltered fan. So get down to the end of the episode, find out about the boom boom room, but definitely come on out to SMG Studios, reach out, follow. Like I said, it's what? Now I definitely lost it. Now we at what, 16%?
He took some of mine,
right. So all right, what's the word?
Really?
Let me hear you say it. Since you didn't drink.
I'm not gonna say it. SMG Studios, hit them up.
SMG Studios on Instagram and everything else in between. Really shout out to my man Pablo. He does all of the work behind the scenes. So thank you to that. Yes. And also, as you guys see, we're still in some MarKei Unfiltered merch. Yes. It seems like the weather is dropping before we expected. So
Yeah,
the
we gotta get
t-shirts
y'all
may
some
be coming real soon.
t-shirts. With some
Me and
different
Marissa have definitely
designs.
been really digging down into the designs, and that has been fun.
It has been fun.
It has been fun.
And also, if you need to rent a car,
If you need to rent a car, definitely holla at MarKei Enterprises.
yes, on
We're on
Turo.
Turo. So just search up MarKei Enterprises on Turo and you'll see all of our vehicles. Like I said, we're now at 3. We may be jumping up to 4, but we'll see. So let's just shout out a great year for MarKei Enterprises. Let's continue to have success.
Yes,
Because on our Valentine's Day date, me and Marissa celebrated our first like 1K month.
right.
And it was
And
over 1K, but like at
yes,
that time we like made $1,000 at that time. We might be almost close to 2K now, within the month of February. So, um, really continue. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you,
yes. Shout out
God,
to God
for just
for
everything that is
real.
happening in our lives right now, and the continued growth and success. And thank you for being here with us. Thank you for spending some
Yes,
unfiltered time with us. And we can't wait to see you guys again. Make sure that you subscribe and holla at us later.
yes,
Until then, stay real, stay unfiltered, and we'll see you guys next time.
yes. Thank you for tuning in to MarKei Unfiltered, and we will catch y'all in a couple weeks. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And we love y'all. Thank you. See y'all.